Hi everyone, it's Lauren. I hope you're all really well. Today I'm going to be going through my to be read list from April through to June. I like to do my TBRs every kind of 3 months to give me some flexibility and also account for me just being rubbish and not sticking to the things that I said I was going to read. I actually have a few rollovers from my previous TBR video, some books that I didn't get read in the first 3 months of the year, and they are Why Women Have Better Sex Under Socialism by Kirsten R. Godsey, which is a collection of essays, I believe, which just sounded kind of funny and interesting. Thought I'd give that a go. Tory Heaven by Margarita Lasky, The Years by Virginia Woolf, and The Beast Within by Emile Zola. So this has been on my TBR for about, I want to say, at least 6 months. I keep rolling this over, so I think the time has come to retire Mr. Zola from my TBR for now, because I think it just gets a little bit silly if I'm trying to force myself to read a certain book and I'm never in the mood for it. It's just going to hang over me and make me not want to read anything. So I'm going to put this down, not forever, but for now. The other 3 I am going to keep on my TBR because I am trying to go through my house and read all of the different little collections of books that I have, the books that I have on my shelves. So I've been trying to get through my Persephone books, get through all my feminism and gender studies books, and also read my collection of Virginia Woolf that I have on my shelf, which is in this really pretty editions by Vintage. So I'm still going to get through to these at some point, but we have 3 months, so I'm going to add some other books to this list. So firstly, continuing my project of reading the books around my house, in my shelves just behind me there I have a little collection of white spine books and one of black spine books. So I have picked a couple of tomes from those shelves. The first one is a book of short stories by Jessie Greengrass, which is an account of the decline of the Great Auk according to one who saw it. Now, I have just read Sight by Jessie Greengrass last month, and I quite enjoyed it. I felt like it was a little bit bitty, but a lot of her different ideas I thought were really interesting, and I quite liked her writing. So this was her short story collection, which came out before that book, and reading that did make me quite interested to try out her short stories because it felt like her writing style might be better suited to that format. And I feel like this was a gift to me from Simon from Savage Reads. I'm sure it was. I'm sure he'll correct me in the comments if it wasn't, but I feel like it was like a couple of years ago and I still haven't read it, so that's another very good reason to get to this. And then from my black spine books, I've picked up Just Kids by Patti Smith, which I bought a long time ago because I don't read very much memoir in general or autobiography, and this I've seen raved about on various different channels in BookTube a while ago, which is why I bought it a while ago, and I don't know very much about Patti Smith. I believe this is about sort of her youth in New York and being part of the art scene and the music scene and all that kind of thing in the 60s. And I did really enjoy reading Educated by Tara Westover at the end of last year. So I think that's got me more into the mood for some autobiography. So hopefully I'm going to really enjoy this. Then, because there were so many books, but because there were a few books that I didn't read from my last list, I've tried to be a little bit conservative with the books I've picked outside of those other parameters. So the first thing I have to show you, I have read already, but I think I might give another go, which is When I Hit You by Meena Kandasamy. And this is our pick for May and June for the Feminist Orchestra Book Club, all of the details of which will be in the description box below if you're interested in joining our Goodreads group. But I read this last year when it was shortlisted for the Women's Prize for Fiction, and I did really, really enjoy it. It's about a woman. It's sort of an account, a fictionalised / autobiographical account of domestic violence and how that builds from something very small into something that you feel like you can't get out of. And it is very harrowing to read. It can be quite distressing to read, but at the same time it is a book that you enjoy because the writing is so poetic and beautiful, and there's something really interesting that she's doing with the structure of this book. So I think this will be a really good pick. I hope other people enjoy reading it. I might pick it up if I've got time, just so that it's fresh in my memory before Jean and I have a discussion about it. The next one is a book that I don't know when I'm going to get to, but I'm sure it will be in the next couple of months, and that's Den of Wolves by Juliet Marillier. And I've been reading this Blackthorn and Grimm series with Jean and Jill as well, and we've been really enjoying them. It's just been such a nice journey to be upon, especially because these are they're kind of mystery books set in a fantasy medieval world. And that's quite fun to read as a group because you're trying to guess what's going to happen next and what the big mystery is. So this is the third book in the series. I think it's the final book, at least that's out of the series. I don't know if there's going to be any more. So I'm sure we'll get to this in the next month or so because we have been really enjoying that. And actually, the next book I have, I'm buddy reading with Jean as well. So Jean and Jen were going to read Tentacle by Rita Indiana, and they asked if I wanted to get involved as well because it does sound really interesting. I don't know very much about the plot itself, but it seems like it's going to be more about focusing on themes and ideas. It's not a very long book, but the author's Caribbean, it's been translated, and it is about a young woman who kind of finds herself travel back in time to save the ocean. But it says on here that it touches on themes of climate change, technology, Yoruba ritual, queer politics, poverty, sex, colonialism, and contemporary art. And it's a mix between The Tempest and perhaps science fiction. So it sounds just really fun and interesting. And the last two books that I'm going to put on this list, I picked up when we went on our booktuber meetup around London a couple of weeks ago. I vlogged the day if you're interested in seeing a load of booktubers chortling and looking at different books, but I went a bit crazy. I think I bought 6 books, but I was just so excited, and I'd been paid that day so I was just like really up for it. But the first thing that I bought was English Animals by Laura Kay, and I've just heard amazing things about this book for a very long time. I know Lauren and Mercedes read it, I want to say a couple of years ago, and really enjoyed it. Jen read it recently and enjoyed it as well. So I thought it was probably high time I joined the club. This is about a young woman from Slovakia who comes to the UK and meets this couple who do taxidermy. But while she's there, I know that she kind of starts having feelings for the wife. I don't know if more happens between them as a three, but it sounds like a bit of an interesting power play between the three of them. That's how I understand it anyway. It's always weird, I think, talking about books that you haven't read yet on camera because, you know, that's what I get from other people that have read it, but I might have made mistakes. But it sounds interesting anyway, and just knowing that other people really enjoyed it makes me excited to read it. So look forward to see what I think about that. And the last one is like the most booktuby book of booktube of all time, which is The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo, which I haven't read yet. And this is about an old woman who's like a socialite looking back on her life and all of her different husbands. So I think she's kind of recounting the tale of how she met all of them. And at the end, I get the impression you kind of work out which one she really loved the most. And this just has been everywhere for a couple of years. People have really enjoyed it. And she's just released a new book, Daisy Jones and the Six, which, again, people seem to really love. So I thought, well, this one was around first, I'll read this. So I do have quite high hopes for this book, and I hope I'm not disappointed because I always like finding a new author that I really enjoy, and this is my first book that I've read by Taylor Jenkins Reid, so it would be really interesting to see how I get on with this, how I get on with Daisy Jones if I read that, and the rest of her books as well. So that's an intriguing one. So a little bit more condensed there, a little bit more conservative than usual perhaps. Let me count how many books that is for 3 months. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, so it's 10. Okay. Actually, I think like I normally have about 10 books on my list, so maybe that's not quite as reduced as I thought it was going to be. I think that's okay. I am getting back into the swing of my reading a little bit in the last month, so hopefully that's good. I do like to read a lot. I know it's about quality and not quantity, but you know, reading something I really enjoy, and there are so many books that I want to read and wish I had time to read, so I quite like being ambitious with my TBRs. Makes me get excited. I'd love to hear from you if you've read any of these, and if you have any recommendations about ones that you really enjoyed, or which ones you think I should read first, or if you didn't enjoy them and think I should just not bother. That's also helpful because, you know, I only have a limited amount of hours in the day, so if there's any of these that you think I shouldn't worry about, then let me know as well. And I'll see you in my next video. Bye!